Did anyone start or?
It's a Cody kind of day. It's like sucky but not.
Ouch!
What, you are? You're all cloudy and stuff, but you're not really.
You're sucky but not.
Yeah, that's what I was
That really double-ended compliment.
Alright, I guess
no,
I
you're
can,
mean. Go away.
I guess I can start it off officially.
What's up?
Alright, what's your name, and can you tell us what you wrote?
My name is Cody Kirker, and I wrote a book of poetry / writings called Mental Smoke. And there was an interview done with me, which was okay. It was alright, it was pretty good for my small town, but we just wanted to make a better interview.
I read the interview. I felt like it really didn't mention much about you.
Yeah.
It didn't mention much about your book.
Nothing to Jennifer Manfred. She was the person that interviewed me. She was a sweet person. But it was just very clear that she hadn't read the book, and that's alright, you know. That's what this interview's for. It's a little more personal. And this is going to be no holds barred. I mean, I'm going to say fuck, shit, ass, cunt. You know, that's how I talk. And if you don't like that, you can fuck off. That's not my problem, that's your problem.
Alright, can you tell us a little bit about what gave you inspiration for this book?
Well, when I first started writing this book, it was actually when I was in junior high. And I hated that in the interview they said I drew it from dark times. Well, yeah, I did, but the main reason I started writing was there was this girl I was seeing at the time. Her name was Morgan. And I was a sophomore and she was a senior. And being that young, I didn't know how to deal with that. She wanted to be with me. She was this skinny, hot, fucking gorgeous girl. Wanted to like make out with me and like drive off with me after school. And I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. And then writing was just like the outlet.
Alright, can you tell us a little bit about your process?
When I first started writing, it was how everyone else starts. And they're just trying to be overly deep. And it's not honest. It's just you trying to take something that you want to write about it and make it deep so it'll seem smarter to other people. To me, that's just, it's so fake. It's not real. It's not speaking from the heart. It's speaking from the head. And, you know, there's a time and place for that. It's like, we always joke about how, you know, we didn't really grow up. We just learned how to speak in public. And I feel that's very true. And when I'm writing, it's not like I'm trying to speak in public. I'm just writing from how I feel and what I see. So when I first started writing, that's how it started. And it was like, I read back on it and it's just shit. It's fucking terrible. And I stopped writing for a while in my senior year. That's when a lot of shit was going on, you know, with band and, you know, graduating. So after that, I started picking it up when I was heading to community college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, no one does. You just spit out into the world like, hey, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to be a writer. Well, that's not realistic because they don't make shit, and there's not a high probability that you'll get a publisher that'll want to like publish your shit. Okay, thanks. So you're asking me what I want to do, and you're saying what I want to do is shit. So what do you want me to do? I always thought that was bullshit. So I was going to COTC for a communications degree, and it was mostly an Associate of Arts degree, which is just like a bullshit way of saying you're taking fucking classes for anything. I wanted to go to Kent State to transfer, and you can transfer anything you take in most of those classes for that degree. And that's when I started writing again, because I wasn't in a good place. You know, everybody else was off at college, and they were receiving care packages, and they were going out and drinking every night with new friends, and here I was still stuck in my hometown, going to a community college with a bunch of other old people. I don't know.
Do you feel your writing has changed from when you started to where you're at now?
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. And when I started writing again when I was in community college, it was like I discovered Charles Bukowski, who his style of writing is, no bullshit. It's just writing exactly how you feel. And all his short stories, they're crazy. And you read them and you're like, this guy's fucked up, but it's real, it's raw. I like that. And I'm like, I want to write like this. And then I also discovered this guy, David McWayne, who was in a band called Big D and the Kids Table. It's a ska band. All our friends listen to ska music. And that was our thing. Saw them live. And then I went home and started looking up more of their music, and I learned more about the lead singer, and I learned that he had published a few books of poetry, so I ordered some of them. And the funny story with that is I ordered them on my dad's credit card, and I didn't tell him, because I really, really wanted to read these books. Well, they arrived, and he was like, well, where did these come from? I'm like, oh, one of my friends gave them to me as a gift. And then he found out the charges were on his credit card. And they took those books away, and I got them as a Christmas present later that year.
So can you talk a little bit about the theme of this book? What are you trying to say?
The theme of this book, it's called Mental Smoke, and where that name comes from is me and my friends, we had a band, and it was kind of like a ska band we were putting together, and we were just throwing names around here and there, and I came up with Mental Smoke because it's like all the gears are running in your head, and it's just smoky, and like nothing's going right, and it's just mental smoke. It's just a bunch of shit going on in your head that you're trying to write down. So that's what this book is. It's just a bunch of weird shit that I wrote about. That's like a cog in the works.
Now you said you had a few artists that have inspired you. Now, with most authors and or band writers, they have more than one genre that they kind of stick to, where I don't know much about the music end, but with some authors, they have their original writings, or they will go out and make something completely different to please the masses. Do you think you would be able to do that, or do you feel that you would be too pressured to stray off from what you want to write?
I don't write to please the masses. They can fuck off. They don't like it.
But that's by doing small things for the masses, that's how some names get big. And once you hit a certain spot, then you can start doing the things that you want to and get away with it.
That's been the big argument, is I'm not looking for fame. I don't need that. I have a job. I'm going to school, and I don't have like an actual career yet. I'm not necessarily looking for this to become a career. This was just a hobby that my friends pushed me to publish, and I did. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking to get famous off of this. I don't give a shit. If you want to buy it and read it, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine. You're not going to insult me.
Do you think you will continue making or continue producing different books of writings, or?
Oh yeah, I'm working on a volume 2 right now, and it's just, I haven't been writing a whole lot in it because not a lot's been happening as of late.
Do you feel that given your certain situation, you said that you've been kind of, here before you said you feel kind of stuck in your own hometown. Do you feel that moving to somewhere else or going to some faraway land would be able to change something like that, or?
Oh, it has. Last summer, I worked as a carny with my friend Danny, and a lot of that whole chapter in Mental Smoke about work was just from going to different places, not being in town, and writing about those experiences with those people. And it's some of the most vulgar stuff you'll read in that shit too.
So do you feel like the place that you come from, the small town, has helped or hindered you in your writing process?
That's a good question, because anyone's watched like The X Factor or American Idol, and everyone's got a fucking sob story. I was raised in a middle class family. I'm not poor, I'm not rich. I don't have a sob story. I just started writing because we all get depressed about things. We all have interesting things that have happened to us. There's nothing special about me. To say the small town thing, yes, I guess I'll say yeah, because it is a small town and everybody wants to get out of a small town and just go see something else. And when I do leave this small town, that's where some of the best writing comes from.
If someone were to come up to you and say they had purchased your book, but they had no idea who you were or what it was about, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them, buckle up.
Now, in all honesty, like, what would you tell them, like, that the story would be about? Or now, don't say that it's really vague. Don't say something that's really vague about it. Like, you have to actually explain, you know, something that you would tell them that would keep them interested in the book that they just bought.
I would tell them it's stories about me traveling and meeting people and telling other people's stories and places I've been to that I found interesting. And since it's from a small town, I'll play off that fact. If you're from a small town, you'll really relate to this book because a lot of the stories feature a small town setting. So that's what you're in store for, is a guy from a small town writing about interesting things that he saw and places he went to. That's about as non-vague as I can get without giving anything away from the book.
Well, okay, then say you can give away a few things from the book. Any like one or two highlights that would stand out for just about, like, in anyone in particular.
My two favorite chapters. One is work, and working for me, it's hard to get a job in a small town because there's really no jobs. So finding a job as a carny was very interesting, and you meet a lot of interesting people. And there's a story in there about a guy named Beanbag. And I'm not going to tell the whole story because you have to read this on your own. It's basically about this big, big fat guy that we worked for. And he got his name from fucking a tranny. And that's all I'm going to give away. And my other favorite chapter is a chapter called What? And it's just a bunch of shit I wrote that was like nonsense. Like, if you've ever done a case study on the Beatles' I Am the Walrus, they wrote that just so people could speculate and wonder what it was about. It was about nothing. So I started writing a lot of things that were just like about nothing. And it's like, I'm thinking if people were to read this, they'd be like, what? What is this? And I'm like, this is going to be a whole chapter in its own.
Now, this book being a compilation of so many stories, do you feel like it gives a good insight into who you are?
Yeah, it really does. Because there are some opinions in there that others may not share. God, what could I talk about? There's stories of me being in high school, and when I have writing in there from junior high, some of that shit where I was trying to be like overly deep. And even women I was talking to in high school, and it's just reflecting back on that. Now, I'm 22 now, and some of these writings from junior high are like when I was like 16, 15, around that age, and it's like, you don't know what the fuck's going on. You don't know how to be with a girl. You don't know how to pleasure a girl. You don't know shit about that. And it's just like, you read it and you see the struggle I was dealing with some of that shit. And dealing with some of the craziness some of these girls have.
Would you also consider this sort of a chronicling of your life?
In a way. Because, yeah, it's a mixture of my writing from junior high up until now. But it's not chronologically in the book. It's just mixed in. And that was another thing I mentioned in the article for the Tribune. I said it's a gray line because you may not know that this was written in junior high. It may have been written like 3 days ago. You just, sometimes you don't know. Some of my writing from junior high was like how I wrote now, and it's just I hadn't figured out my style yet. And you see how it's changed. Like, you could probably tell, like, wow, this sounds like really shitty, like, trying to be real feelsy about this, and then it goes to like a story about a guy named Beanbag.
Now, you said that you hadn't figured out your style yet. What would you describe as your style?
My style, I said it in the Tribune, it's like a vigilante writing, where it's free flowing, it's not complicated, it's not trying to be deep, it's just writing about what you see, what's happening, how you're feeling at that time, without like trying to cover it in a bunch of metaphors. I'm not trying to write the fucking Bible. I'm not writing the fucking Bible. I'm just writing a book that anyone could read and say, I get this. I've dealt with this.
If someone were to buy your book, do you think, I guess, would you be able to say near the end that if someone were to read it, would there be anything that they would take with them personally, like as a general consensus, like when they're done reading it, there's something that would maybe stick with them?
The very last writing in that book, it's in the last chapter, which is called Notes from the Writer, which is me. And it's just my personal opinion about some things. I was in a communication class one time, and in one of the books it said it was some kind of chart for how to live your life like normally, and it was like get your education, get married, have kids, die. And I was like, that's fucked up. And then I put that in there, and then I wrote living your life from the writer's point of view. And it was get your education, leave your small town, leave your country, leave your state, just leave, go. Meet a few interesting people, have sex, have friends, do stupid things, and just if you want to have a kid, have one. If you need to, if you want that, that's good. Just wait. You don't need to have a fucking kid as soon as you get out of high school. You don't need to get married as soon as you get out of college.
Now, there are some people that have, by those standards, are living the all-American dream. They get out of college, they marry, they have, wife, son, daughter, dog, white picket fence. Now, are you saying that would be a bad thing? Because some people are content with that.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, from my point of view, from my opinion, to truly experience all there is in this world, you need to leave your town, you need to leave your state, you need to leave your country, you need to go see the world before you settle down, get married, have kids. Because as soon as that happens, yeah, you can go on vacation with your family, but you're dealing with them being there. And some people like that. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But me personally, I want to go see the world before I settle down with anyone. I want to have a few girlfriends before I settle down with any one person. I don't want to be tied down as soon as I get my education. What's the fun in that?
So you said as a vigilante writer, do you consider yourself somebody that writes outside of the normal form?
Yeah, I follow a lot of people on Instagram that like to post the shit that they write. And it's just, they're trying way too hard to be deep. And it's just like, they're trying to be out of the box, different. And I just read them like, you're trying too hard. Just say what you want to say. Why do you have to cover it in bullshit? I've never understood that.
Would there be any last sign-off advice you would want to give someone that would be interested in reading your book?
If I inspire you to write, I've done my job.
All right, this has been Cody Kirker, the author of a book, Mental Smoke. It's $5 on Kindle, Nook, any ebook provider.
Anywhere where you can buy an ebook, it's there. So, thanks for listening, guys.